Monday night, September 30th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any announcements, Marcy?
No announcements.
No announcements. I have one. While everyone's here, hopefully civil and happy, I wanted to recognize Trevor Abel. Trevor Abel down here is a semifinalist for the National Merit Scholar. I mean, that's incredible. I don't think Trevor knows really what he wants to do in life, but I can tell you, whatever it is, he will be successful at it. I mean, really, he's unbelievable, this guy. So congrats, Trevor, on that. No other announcements. Moving on, we have the September 5th meeting minutes. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Melanie made the motion. Angela seconded. Any discussion on the meeting minutes?
Yeah, so under policy, sorry about that. Under policy, it's actually Bryce, you and I who are on that committee. So it should be Larrabee and Clunk. And then with,
Melanie, do you mean on the agenda or minutes?
on the minutes, and I believe it's on the minutes too. So it says that, yeah, it says policy, Bryce Larrabee and Martin Ostala. It's Bryce Larrabee and Melanie Clunk.
Okay.
And then with NHSBA, I'm the alternate.
Any other revisions?
Yes, Section 5B, under Business Administrator Report, Dwayne Ford. I think it should read Administrative Ford handed out opening day, not open day.
Good catch. Anything else? Melanie, you want to amend your motion subject to the revisions you just made? And
Yes. I would
Angela, you
like
still
to
want a second?
amend My motion.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Moving right along to public comment. And so in the normal public comment, we have monthly meetings, and we typically have a couple people from the teachers' union and Judson Malone. And generally, we have about 4 people from the public at our meetings, pretty consistently. And so we recognize why everyone's here tonight, and so we'll get right to it. I'll say that the way our policy reads is that we have the ability to limit public comment to 30 minutes, and we have the ability to limit comments to 3 minutes. But we've never done that. We've never really enforced that, because again, it's usually Judd who's talking, and it usually doesn't take that long. But be that as it may, we're not going to do that with a limited exception, and we also ask that the Bow residents, first of all, anyone who wants to comment, please state your name and address, at least your street address, and then say whatever you want to say. But we ask that the Bow residents do that first. Now, for anyone else from out of town, we share our district. It's called SAU 67. This is a Bow school district issue, but Dunbarton funnels into Bow to form school district SAU 67. So to the extent there are any other Dunbarton people here, we ask the same thing, just go after the Bow people. And then finally, if there's anyone not from our school district, we ask that you go last. And if this takes a very long time, which we have no idea how long this will take, but we're committed to take essentially as long as it takes, but we may limit those non-Bow Dunbarton folks to a combined total of 30 minutes if it's a very long period of time, but we don't know. Normally, we don't comment on public comments. The public comment is essentially you have the ability to make a comment towards us. It's not a give and take, back and forth exchange. And we won't be making any comments in response to any individual presentations by anybody that comes forward. We may at the end of all of the comments, but late this afternoon, our jurisdiction was sued by a couple of parents. And so pretty much everything that we're anticipating you folks are going to talk about today is now in pending litigation. And so our hands are pretty tied, given the litigation. We're really not going to comment much, given the fact that there is pending litigation against the school district. So, and I guess one other point I'll make. So to the extent folks don't understand kind of the background, and what I'm about to tell you, I've read in the newspaper. I don't have any, personal knowledge or anything. But last year there was a transgender player who played for Plymouth High School. And since that time, the state of New Hampshire has passed a law that says essentially you have to play in the sport given your original birth certificate. So as I understand it, Plymouth then told this player they were not allowed to play this year for the girls' soccer team at Plymouth. After that happened, then this player filed a federal lawsuit against Plymouth, and I don't know who else, but there was a federal injunction by a federal judge that said, while we sort this thing out, you can play. So the judge ordered that the child was allowed to play on the Plymouth soccer team, and as far as we know, has played against all the different towns, including Bow. But besides that, really everything else, there's not much we can really say given the lawsuit. So anyone that wants to comment, feel free.
Steve Hebert, 6 Cardinal Drive. To your point, I understand you can't comment, and we can all have disagreements on the transgender thing. I think we're overstepping another important fact, and that was the violation of these gentlemen's First Amendment rights to peacefully protest. I'm disappointed in every one of you. That has nothing to do with the lawsuit, obviously, because what you did is tried tonight in front of everyone here is to have a shoulder to cry on. And that child, however he or she may deal with it, I understand it, and I don't want to hurt anybody, but you just silenced somebody who had a different opinion. There was nothing wrong. There was no voices. There was no mean words. It wasn't directed at anybody. And when elections come up, I'd like you all to know and put you on notice that I think this is the turn. I don't think you deserve to be up there. I think that you are putting your personal views in front of everyone here. So I hope you've enjoyed your time on the board. I am personally going to do everything I can to make sure that we have unbiased people who can read something as simple as the First Amendment. So thank you.
David Farr, Heidi Lane. So thanks for the opportunity to speak. I wanted to share, because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of misinformation given tonight, so I just wanted to give a different perspective that I don't think is being shared. So over the last few weeks, you might have heard this one side of the story, and you're not getting presented the full facts. Several weeks ago on the sidelines of our daughter's game, the varsity girls game, we started to hear several parents discussing the idea of wearing dresses to the Plymouth game. They talked loudly and openly about why do we have to play a boy, and how do we get people to come out and protest? Regardless of what you think of the response to the Plymouth game demonstration, it was clear to any within earshot that they wanted to protest that game and one particular player. During the disturbance on the day we played Plymouth, one father argued with staff and asked those around him to come to his defense, saying, no one will speak up with me about this, be it their own cowardice at facing consequences or some trickle of wisdom in realizing they shouldn't support abhorrent behavior. None spoke up. You might also think that these two men are some sort of heroes for defending these girls. The girls have stated loudly and clearly they don't want their support. And while I hesitate to bring players into this, I'm upset because a father is actively stealing our girls' voices. He is lying using their voice. And I know it is upsetting to my daughter, and I've heard other daughters tell me how upsetting it is to them. Let me quote from his TikTok. What do the girls want? They themselves wore pink in solidarity and support of the parents who were harassed and removed. And they put a picture of the girls wearing pink at their game. Those girls have been wearing those pink jerseys for years in support of breast cancer. And when the soccer girls commented on that, he deleted their comments, this champion of free speech that you all love. It's a blatant lie. Sorry, I spoke out of turn. I wrote it. This is a blatant lie. And when players commented to that point on his TikTok, he removed their comments and eventually turned off all comments. In addition to that, we know that the fathers were asking the girls to wear pink armbands, to which they refused. And I can only say I'm super proud of our girls. They wrote handwritten notes to this player because they knew our parents were going to embarrass them, and handed those cards to this player to thank her for playing, to let them know that they support her, they enjoyed playing her, and they look forward to playing her again. So let's be clear. This is more about a man who wants to be social media famous. He doesn't care who he hurts. He doesn't care about these girls. He just wants to get likes and views. I, for one, support our school board and our administrators for standing up to these bullies, even in the face of threats and violence, which I know you've received. In my opinion, you're the true heroes for these girls.
Ryan Johnston, Branch Londonderry Turnpike. I disagree with the direction you guys are going in, the genderqueer shit. A couple years back, now you guys are telling people to be quiet about how they feel, about the direction you're going in, at events, wherever. We're allowed to speak up. We're not even speaking. Put something on your arm. That was it. You should all be fired.
Any other Bo comments?
Sort of not, but my name's Tina Doucette, Brown Hill Road in Bow. In regard to the school grounds themselves, public versus private property, is it private property or is it public property?
Yeah, we're not able to answer that at this time.
Okay, because I had 2 children that graduated a couple of years ago, and my son's best friend was arrested for playing basketball at the high school. The police, the principal rather, gave him a no trespassing for playing basketball at night and was told not to come back to the high school because he was no longer a student there. And he went back there to play basketball again at night, and the Bow Police actually hunted him down at the Irving Mobile Station in front of everybody and arrested him for playing basketball as a teenager at night, doing nothing. So I'm just kind of curious what we're paying taxes for if we want our kids to enjoy playing basketball. It's kind of separate, but it's also, I just never understood why the problem was with our kids playing basketball on the basketball court at the high school. So I guess it raises a question, is it truly where, like, are we allowed to do that? Are we allowed to let our kids play at the school, whether it's tennis or basketball? He wasn't doing drugs, he wasn't drinking. I've lived here for over 10 years. I see kids playing basketball there all the time. Why was he singled out? And even to the point where they put an arrest warrant out for him and found him at a gas station and arrested him in front of the whole entire store. That's reality. That happened 2 years ago, and he couldn't afford an attorney, so he has a record against him.
If we can, let's go back and forth on the mic since we have a few folks. Don?
Don Berube, 135 River Road. I'm glad my 2 boys are done with school now, where this is gone. And I feel really sorry for the girls in girls' sports. Allowing biological males to play sports, we should just call it co-ed, because that was what it will be. And if it does continue, you'll have boys that, hey, I'm going to play the trans card so I can play these sports and do well. And in no time at all, our records will be held by biological males, and it's a really sad time for girls. And I really hope that the school board, and a lot of it's the NHIAA, can see this or where it's going to go. You know, I hear Kearsarge has one, you know, their big goalie. We should be refusing, and any schools should be refusing to play them because it's unfair. And having them in there just, it takes away from our girls. And it's a very sad time. Thank you.
Alex Zerba, 8 Poor Richards Drive in Bow. I would like to thank the school board and our school administrators for everything you are doing and that you are going through. I apologize on behalf of the majority of parents in Bow. I am actually a parent of a girl soccer player on this varsity team, and I am so upset with how this has been handled by many people I see in this room. I don't even know who you are. I don't even think you live in Bow. I don't know why you're here. We don't want you supporting our girls the way you are. We are asking you to stop your protesting. It is hurting our girls. I cannot tell you how it is affecting them. It is not the right way to go about doing things. You are not a parent of any of these girls on the soccer team, and we are asking you to stop your protests. This is not the right way to go about doing things. If you have an issue with a transgender on a team, which is not even on the Bow team, take it up with your legislators. Thank you.
Go ahead, over here.
Hi, my name's Judson Malone. I have 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys. We live at 7 Audley Divide in Bow. All of my kids are in the school. I'm in an interesting scenario where I have 1 kid and at least 1 kid in each of our schools. You're all welcome for that. First, I want to apologize for reading off my phone. It's not what I like doing, but I'm not a great orator. So, secondly, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the members of the board as well as the administrators that are here present, listening and taking note of what we all have to say as we are the community you serve. So thank you for that. Thank you for all that you do with the best interests of all students within our community at heart. It is appreciated. I would like to take this time, though, to encourage the board and the administrators to take any opportunities where possible to support the rights of women in sports. I'll also implore anyone that will listen to stay off social media and start being social again. You'll find you have a lot more common ground that way. Things aren't as black and white when you're talking face to face. Thank you for your time and attention.
Yeah, this gentleman.
Thank you. J.R. Hole, Dunbarton, 32 Ordway Road. First, thank you to the board for opening up this time and allowing the more than 30 minutes per your guidelines for people to give feedback. I appreciate that. Second, to all those in the room, let's try and make sure the personal attacks are at a minimum. It's already enough of a contentious issue. Let's try and keep things in broad terms. I come here in several capacities. One as a state rep. I represented Bow and Dunbarton for 8 years. I was part of the team that helped transition from Goffstown and Dunbarton as a school district as an area agreement over. Although I was not on the school board at the time, I was one of the citizens helping to push for that because I thought it was valuable. I'm also a parent of a high school age student. We homeschool, so our children are not in the high school, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't turn around tomorrow and enroll one of our kids in the high school. I come also as a board member for Rebuild New Hampshire, and lastly as a taxpayer, who at the end of this is probably going to pay higher taxes because of where this is going. I would ask that the school board push hard to get an apology by the superintendent and a reversal of the no trespassing order. This is a clear First Amendment right. These were not disruptive parents. Former Bow resident and Congressman and Supreme Court Justice wrote an article in the op-ed. I have copies for it. I will turn them in to you tonight. I'm going to quote from his article. On Tuesday, September 17th, the Bow school system clearly violated the First Amendment when it told a resident he could not come on school property until further notice. His offense, wearing a pink armband with 2 X's on it. The First Amendment right of free speech includes not only affirmative right to speak, but also the right to be free from retaliation by a public official for the exercise of that right. And he concludes in his second to last sentence, Bow owes the parents an apology as soon as humanly possible for the retaliation against the message it thinks is not politically correct. The purpose of the First Amendment wasn't just to protect speech broadly. It was to protect speech that might not be pleasant, might not be acceptable. Otherwise, the government gets to say anything, they get to define what is good, what is evil, and no one else can then say something in contrary. Rebuild stood up several years ago when we started locking down the state to say, you know what, we need our businesses open because it matters. Livelihoods are at risk. I was one of the first people at the State House a month into the COVID lockdown saying these lockdowns are going to hurt our citizens. They're going to create mental health issues. They're going to create academic issues. I was there. Guess what? This is the same thing, just in a different area. We started a petition just last week asking for people. I'm going to read the petition. It's been signed by almost 1,250 New Hampshire citizens at this point. I'm going to read it in full, and I will turn in copies. To Superintendent Marcy Kelly, members of SAU 67, the school board, and Commissioner Frank Edelblue. We, the undersigned, understood that on September 17th, several parents attended a girls' soccer game match wearing pink armbands to support girls-only sports. We, the undersigned, understood that at least 2 of these parents had been issued a police-enforced no trespassing order. We, the undersigned, understand the First Amendment guarantees these parents the right to free speech and the right to protest. We, the undersigned, understand that this specific matter has already been litigated to the Supreme Court of the United States in Tinker versus Des Moines in 1969, when the court held that armbands represented pure speech, and further held that people do not lose their right of freedom of speech when they step onto public property. Now, therefore, we, the undersigned, hereby demand that Superintendent Kelly rescind the no trespassing order and issue a public apology to the impacted parents. And if these actions are not taken, that the school board members of SAU 67 have Ms. Kelly removed from her position. I know that's strongly worded, but it is that important. Public officials, I being a current state rep, understand this. We have to live by the rules of the Constitution. That is the guidelines to which we are accountable as individuals in representing others. The same is true for the school board and for the superintendent. It's that simple. All of the members of the public legislature, be it the executive branch, the legislative branch, or the judicial branch, are bound by the Constitution. We can't just walk away from that. We can't nullify it. That's the one thing the citizens in this state deserve. They deserve that we stand up and protect the rights that are enshrined in our Constitution. The issue is broader than just the legal costs. At some point, some girl potentially is going to get hurt on a soccer field. It may not be the goalie next year. It may be somebody else. It may be a forward. And the time that happens, the school will have that much greater liability. We need to, if we want co-ed sports, have co-ed sports. That's fine. Everybody can participate. But when we start segregating sports by sex, we need to then go ahead and segregate it by sex. I would ask that you jump on this quick. I was not aware until like 3:30 this afternoon that there was a lawsuit. I knew it was going to come. I just didn't know when. I heard about it. I understand why you guys can't comment tonight about it. And I fully support that you can't comment because at some level the taxpayers are going to be on the hook for whatever is said by you guys. But I do think at some level an apology to the parents is needed. Thank you.
Another comment over here.
Hi, my name is Shannon Bader. I live at 25 Heidi Lane. I'm a Bow mom, I'm a sports mom, and I'm also a female athlete. So because of Title IX, I was able to compete at a high level throughout high school, college, and still as an adult. And I'm not going to talk about the lawsuit because I trust this board to make the best decisions for our students and staff and for our town resources as you've done all these years before. but I do want to make a comment about the language we use when we talk about female athletes. You're going to likely hear comments, like you already have today, mostly from men, about the risks of injury or the need to protect our daughters. I was able to participate in sports at a high level, and we still obviously need to talk about parity for the girls now, all 20 years later. If we've learned anything from the amazing performance of American women at the Paris Olympics this year, or the stellar record of the U.S. women's soccer team, if they've shown us anything, it's that female athletes are strong and powerful and talented. Do not diminish their athleticism and their grit and their dedication with rhetoric about fragility and the need for protection. Our women athletes don't want concern about them. They want buses and sandwiches, and they want someone to stop ordering white shorts for their uniforms. Please remember that their strength and their power and their athleticism as you think about their decisions for this district and for all of our women. Thank you.
Any other comments from anywhere?
Matt Poulin, 20 Hampshire Hills Drive. I really don't want to say anything, but I think some of it was missed tonight. But as a taxpayer and an individual who put 4 kids through this school district, we moved here 21 years ago because of the school district. We were ranked as one of the top 3 districts in the state. We were Bedford, Amherst, and Bow back in 2003. Now we're not even in the top 10 of schools. It's depending on some of the rankings, we're 19th. Depends on which ones you look at. I'm not going to debate that with you tonight. But Bryce, even you told me yourself that good schools equate to good values of your homes. Well, this is the second time in 3 or 4 years that Bow's been put on the map, not for a good reason. So, you know, I kind of sit there and say, first of all, we put age and appropriate material in our schools for our kids, and now we're limiting First Amendment rights to our parents. Not really good things to be put on the map for. So I really hope that you guys do the right thing when it comes to this whole thing. And Dave, I appreciate you, but as far as the administrator for the Bow community page, I think we need a new administrator. I think we need somebody that's not going to be as biased and is not going to personally attack people in this room. So I'm not a fan of that right now. And I know they've allowed some other administrators onto that page, and I'm appreciative of that. As far as J.R. Houle, Marcy, I really hope you rescind your no trespass. You're damaging a parent in our community. You did 2, but obviously 1 is allowed to do things now. I think you'll limit the damage to this town. You'll limit the legal costs of this town if you rescind your order and apologize. That's just my opinion, but I really wish you'd do that and save the town a ton of money. Everybody's worried about the costs associated with that, but their First Amendment rights were violated. And there is case law to that, contrary to what's on the community page. But and I appreciate the last comment from the parent that came up. I'm sorry I missed your name. I am all for women's rights. You guys have a right to compete against yourselves, and I really hope that that continues from here on in. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Erin Wilson. I live in Dunbarton, New Hampshire. I have children in the school system, and I also have a background in academic and school counseling. I'm here to speak up for the girls of our school district, state, and country. It's not fair to ask girls and women to concede fairness and safety in their competitions by competing against athletes who were born male. I know I'm pointing out the obvious here, but in high school sports, there is a boys' division and a girls' division. They don't all play and compete together. Anyone who has attended matches and meets for both sexes can see why. People may say this is a small and rare issue, but girls in our school district and state have already competed against transgender athletes for multiple sports seasons for the past 2 years. This has impacted girls placing in their events and earning spots on sports teams. These competitions are unfair for a myriad of reasons, not limited to menstruation, lean muscle mass, bone mass, power expression, hip to shoulder ratio, wingspan, and a majority of the time, height. The NHIAA and the schools volley this issue back and forth, each saying they will do what the other says, neither standing up for the girls who compete for them. And they will likely continue to do so until the Justice Department ruling. I understand the need for compassion around these sensitive issues for students and families in the school system and state. But I also think we need to tell the truth and provide options for athletes who identify as another gender, such as having an additional category for scoring and co-ed team options. Our New Hampshire House, Senate, and Governor also see reasons why we need protection for girls' sports, but yet here we are, still having girls compete in unfair competitions, with our administration and district staying silent about discrimination against girls.
Go ahead.
Beth Sloat for Longview Drive. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but I want to say that, first of all, it is my understanding, and I don't know if this is true or not, and I don't know if you can speak to that, that the parents who were going to protest were told, and a letter was sent to the entire district that said, don't do it, because we are being fair and competitive. If those parents then went and protested, they broke a rule, and speech has consequences. Free speech, yes, but speech has consequences, and if they were told not to do something and they did it, and then you give them the no trespass order, that's a consequence. Actions have consequences. Also, I'd like to say that I stood up here, and I will always stand up for free speech, but they also will hinder our free speech because they come after the books in the library. You know, I stood up here a year or 2 years ago, and I fought, and I will always fought for that. Free speech for them means free speech for other people as well. They are not the arbitrators of what free speech is, and free speech has consequences. Speech has consequences, and if they were told not to do it and they did it, then it has a consequence.
Any other comments?
Yeah. How goes it? Robert from 20 Old Hopkinton Road in Dunbarton, second-class citizen. That's why I'm last, right? You guys put the Dunbarton people. I get it. Hey, you know, it's all right. But I'll tell you this. I've been thinking a lot about this. I'm not going to comment on what's going on with this specific incident. I have thoughts on it, but it's just the goose is kind of cooked on that one, right? So I've been thinking a lot about how did this happen? Like, what causes something like this to happen? How did we arrive from A to B? And I was reading through on the SAU 67 website, and fascinating reading, by the way. And the first three things that I came across were the what would you call them, the ethos of the district, right? Number two caught my eye, which is commonly uttered by this board, right? So you guys know what it is. And actually, there's no internet in here, so I can't, I'm flying blind here, so I'm going to go by memory. But it's something like, care for each student each day, care for every day, every student every day, something along the lines of that. Which, come on, like that's kind of ludicrous, right? Like think about the logistics of doing something like that. It's not possible, right? Just from the pure student to teacher ratio, you guys can agree. Like that's not possible. You can't care for every student every day, not possible. So, okay, maybe it's a lofty goal. That's great. Shoot for the stars, right? That's what every major religion in the world is based on, right? A goal that's unable to manifest itself into reality, something that is a driving force behind how we operate as a school district. Now, when you click on these headlines, it brings it up and it kind of expands on it a little bit. I thought that was really interesting because there's a lot of detail in there about how you care for every student every day. And one of the things that caught my mind right away was safe spaces. Preventing bullying, create a safe space for learning, and I think, okay, that's great. Oh, hey, who's got internet? Oh, fancy. All right. Now you got to sit here and watch me read this. We need to make a school a safe haven, both physically and emotionally, for our staff and students, so that they can focus on teaching and learning. Practically, which none of this is practical in my opinion. This means we continue our focus on blah 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 blah. Okay, so yeah. Safe spaces. Now, okay, how could safe spaces get us arrive at this juncture here we are, which we can all agree. We may disagree on the particulars of what is going on right now, but we can all agree as a whole, this is bad, right? No matter what way you look at it, either side, it's not good, Okay, so how did we end up here? Well, safe space is an interesting thing. Just like you can't care for every student every day, you cannot provide a safe space for every idea every day, in every moment, right? So you need to, how that manifests itself in a structure like we have here is we have to determine which ideas are safe and which ideas are not. Now, who determines that? Some kind of authoritative board, a school board per se, will take the initiative to say, this idea in particular is a good idea that deserves to be awarded a safe space, and this idea is a bad idea that would be a bullying idea if it's brought forth. So you have a board, some kind of authoritative body that uses its authority to qualify which ideas are safe and which ideas are not. There's a problem here, right? The problem is this idea extrapolated all the way down ends in gulags, right? There's nothing more dangerous than an idea that has fallen in love with its own reflection in the mirror. And you have been put in a position, you have put yourselves in the position of being the arbiters of what is a good idea and what is a bad idea. Not only that, but it's completely detrimental to the health and learning of our students, because we are saying that at 17, 18, whatever age you are, that's it. You've arrived at it. There is no more expansion in learning that can happen to you by presenting your ideas against counter arguments and other ideas, no matter how bad they may be. And there's some real bad ideas out there. Most of the ideas are bad ideas. This might even be a bad idea, right? But you don't know until you put it up against ideas and let them bang it out, right? That's what school is about. We get to take our ideas and we get to put them to the test. We get to say things that are crazy and out there and based on whatever you have, whatever you can come up with. It's kind of a sandbox of ideas. And if we're eliminating the ability for students in this interactive space to be able to compete those ideas against each other, well, ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived exactly at the space we are now. So if we're going to continue with these ethos, this is the driving ethos of the school. Everyone's running around trying to fix a flat tire, but the engine is rigged to blow. We're going to get more and more and more and more of this. It's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And so I present to you tonight, can we at least open up the possibility of having a conversation, having some sort of dialogue to redirect? Because obviously we're not going in the right direction right now, right? We can look at our test scores. We can look at what happened to you guys at 3:30, to the community here at 3:30 tonight. Something's wrong. Something's broken. Let's fix it. And I would say that the best way to fix that is to redirect our efforts in reopening conversation and rewriting and revisiting what our driving ethos is behind the school. Because I mean, the way I think about it, my kids are still in Dunbarton Elementary. Shout out, Mr. Harrington. Love you, good buddy. But I have like a couple of years to figure this out. So I really want to, I have a tremendous interest in helping us figure this out so that we can build a school that's not centered around individuality and protecting individual ideas and insulating that person and saving them from bullying, but creating an environment where community is the goal. And Mr. Harrington, you could probably tell me better than anything, but I know what the driving ethos behind Dunbarton Elementary is. And community is one of them. It's a big one. Right now, the community is not healthy. This is a big symptom of a community that is not healthy because we're not having, well, actually tonight we've had some healthy conversations, right? We can all disagree with each other and we can share ideas. But in large, what we've seen, the community is suffering. The community is not healthy. We got to diagnose the problem. We got to fix it. I think we revisit the ethos of the school, and I'll draft a formal letter to you guys to see what the process for that, but I really think it's important. Thank you very much for your time.
Any other comments? I casually see people stand every now and then.
Hi, Kate S. at 8 Parsons Way. I just have a question. We had kids, we have 4 kids that went through the school district, and I believe when the kids did sports, there was a code of conduct that the students had to sign, and I believe that the parents had to sign one too. I can't exactly find it, but what I did find was about sportsmanship. It says, Bow High School is a community that is dedicated to good sportsmanship, positive ethics, and integrity in its students, athletes, and fans. Poor sportsmanship in any form will not be tolerated on the field of play, on the sidelines, or in the stands. BHS takes value in the sportsmanship ratings given through the NHIAA and will maintain a positive environment for every contest. It is the expectation of every fan to maintain a positive attitude, to treat players, coaches, and officials with respect, and to cheer for their team as opposed to cheering against the other team. Fans are not to use the names or numbers of opposing teams, nor should they be trying to directly communicate or distract other players. Coaches should be encouraging good play from everyone and treating opposing teams and officials with respect. They should maintain professionalism in all that they do. Players must always be respectful of everyone involved in the contest. Unsportsmanlike behaviors that lead to penalties, fouls, or ejections will not be tolerated and undoubtedly will result in additional penalties from the school. School-sponsored activities take place for the student athletes and school community as a whole. Strive to maintain positivity and not make it about anything or anyone else. It seems to me, having my kids already graduated, that this entire conversation is pretty much in conflict with what this says. I also would like to say that my kid's going through this school, and my kid being a trans kid who graduated in 2022 and was elected and voted by his student body as the prince at prom. I think we need to listen to the students and how they feel. I also feel that all of you guys saying, we're here for the students, it's all about the students, you're neglecting the fact that my kid was also a student. My kid had the right to be in this school, feel safe, feel supported, and he was. He was. By the other students, by the teachers, by the parents, and it makes me sad to see and hear how you speak about trans kids and their families. Look at my face. I am a trans parent. I am of a trans kid, and I adore my kid as much as you all adore your kid. And it upsets me to hear what you say about my child, because my decision was about keeping my child alive and safe and healthy and happy. And you know what? My kid is thriving because he is who he's supposed to be now. And I'm sorry I'm emotional, but this is my child. If you really care about children, stop only caring about your child, because I care about your child. Try caring about my child. And if any of you want to talk to me about this journey, I am right here, and I am willing to talk to you. But please remember that you are talking about people's children. And I would die for my child. I would take a bullet for my child. I would walk through fire for my child. You are my fire. You are my bullet. And I will stand up for these children who have every right to feel safe on our property. And it is humiliating that this town is talking like that. You do not speak for all of us. And I want the kids on Plymouth, and I want our girls everywhere in this school to know that you are not the people talking for all of us. There are many of us who would go through fire and will go through fire for these kids. Thanks.
Any other comments?
Good evening. My name is Anne Marie Banfield, and I'm a parental rights advocate in New Hampshire. I was asked to come here by roughly about a dozen parents to speak to you tonight. Now that the district has weaponized law enforcement and trespassing orders against parents, this has sent a chilling effect on some of the parents who would have liked to have been here tonight. They, along with myself, worked up some common questions and concerns that I'll be presenting to you. Number one, some parents no longer feel comfortable bringing any problems before the school board. They fear retribution, but worse, They feel that retribution may be aimed at their children. How do you plan to rectify that situation? The top administrators and others in the district are willing to possibly violate a parent's right to free speech. How is this topic covered in a school where teachers are tasked with teaching about First Amendment rights? Are there any politically motivated signs, symbols, flags hanging anywhere in the school? And if so, why were those acceptable but parents couldn't express their viewpoint? Please explain how insurance works if a female student is injured during a girls' sporting event by a biological male. The same with legal expenses. They'd like a detailed explanation if the district covers any or all medical, psychological, or legal expenses. If you're not familiar with the North Carolina volleyball player, she was partially paralyzed when a biological male on the opposing team spiked the volleyball and hit her in the face. So there are serious injuries that you need to consider. We'd like a timeline of events from when this policy was proposed to when it was changed. That includes roll call votes by any of the at any of the school board meetings. We'd like documentation including emails, texts, electronic communications with anyone involved in the incident where the two parents were issued a trespass order. I'll be putting some of this into a 91A, so you'll have an official document. Locker rooms and restrooms, how is that handled in the school? Because you may have a trans student that wants to play on a team in the future. You may not just be opposing them. Those are the questions, and I know that you cannot maybe answer them all at this time, but I hope at some time that you will answer those questions, and certainly through the documents that will be required through a 91A. The last thing that I wanted to bring up is I did like the idea of co-ed sports. I think that from a state perspective, that might be a good solution to the problem. But what happens next year if there's 6 biological males on your opposing team? You know, at some point, that was our conversation, is at some point, what is going to happen when that is brought to a team? You know, especially when they are concerned about injuries. What happens when these boys, if they're boys, or if they're 6 feet tall, 200 pounds? I mean, these are things that we have to consider and talk about. But those are the questions that they had. I will put this in an email to all of you, and I will send it. Some of the questions I know can't be answered automatically, but some of them will be in 91A form. Thank you.
Any other question or comments? No? Sure? All right. The only other thing that comes to mind, Marcy, some parent mentioned the girls' soccer team, which reminded me of the legal advice we've received that we should set up a protest zone at soccer games to the extent, I don't know if there's ever going to be another protest. I've been to thousands of games. I've never once been to a protest, but obviously we've had a couple recently. So I know the board is supportive of that, but I think, Melanie, you had some questions or something for Marcy?
I guess, so I always try and find, like, where we can compromise, right? I always try and, like, consider everything. But at the end of the day, it's every single student that I try to think of first. And I think that this generation of students are dealing with something that we can't completely appreciate. They have to do drills to practice that if one of their student friends or one of their parents come in and try to kill them, where they should hide or if they should run. I think that these students are dealing with that stress and that anxiety, and we really can't understand it. I try to understand it, and I can't, but my concern, and I don't know, I mean, this could be part of the discussion, is my concern is if people are yelling at somebody on the side of a field, if that could possibly be very triggering, if that could be really scary for every single one of those kids, because I got to tell you, I didn't worry about that growing up. And I think that every student, they do not know if the person they're looking at is somebody safe, or if that person all of a sudden is going to snap. I think that they don't know where the next school will be that gets shot up, because we know there will be another school shooting, right? And they know that it could be Bo. So while I support free speech, for sure, I think that when we have a discussion about where to do it, I think that I would just like our discussion to also include thinking about the hearts of all of these students and the stress that they deal with every day, worrying that somebody that they know that lives down the street could just snap that day and bring a gun. So I think I did like that a lot of people want to have these discussions. I think we need to have these discussions, and sometimes it's hard to be part of a community because sometimes we see things very differently. But I think we all love our kids, and we all know that this is a really scary time for them. And I'm just asking that we could all also consider how scary that might be to have people on the sidelines, maybe getting upset or something. That's all I'd like.
All right, we're going to move on then to our regular monthly meeting. Typically, people leave after they've done with whatever they are come to hear, except for Judson Malone. But feel free to stay, obviously, but we'll move on to other things from this point forward. You can make as much noise as you want. Don't worry about it, honestly. So moving right along, SAU reports. Marcy, anything to add to your superintendent report?
I don't have anything to add at this time.
Any questions for Marcy? No questions.
I did have a question about the Alma updates. Are we any further along on making some like workshops for parents, staff, students, that we could like have some education around this?
We are a little bit further along, so Chris, where are you? Chris Vos, our new director of IT, is working on putting together some visual instructions for people. That way they could access it from home and not necessarily have to come in for, an Alma listening session.
So maybe both? Could we do maybe both? One where maybe you could do it from home and then live. Some people it's a lot better
Sure.
with, with the computer in hand, you know what I mean?
Kinesthetic learners.
Sure.
I think learning.
We can do
while
that.
learning.
I don't find it any easier. I don't know about you, but
found it much easier.
Oh.
I've been playing around with it more, and I do find it's a little more intuitive than I thought it was at first, but that's just with me playing around. Maybe my kid's helping me a little bit, showing me how to use it, because they figured it out a little bit. Yeah, but I do still think some tutorial stuff would be helpful.
Yeah, my
But-
daughter's still like writing.
For you guys, so that it's accepted. Like,
yeah, I
to
would.
channel those communications.
I'm sure there's email addresses, particularly for Marcy, generally through the superintendent, generally.
All right, I'm
would be
gonna
where
play
I go.
email with that and just send it to everybody.
Yeah,
All
if you
right.
shoot to her,
You
she'll
guys are gonna get
forward
like memes and emojis too. It's gonna be awesome.
Thanks. Okay, no other questions? Any questions for Dwayne?
Can I?
Well, actually, you should add, do you have anything to add, Dwayne? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I just don't want to lose this, so when we get later in the agenda, and if there's a good time to talk about a facility, one of our projects, I need to give an update on that and kind of let you know where one of them stands. And then, as I put in my report, tomorrow's the official enrollment day for the state. So when we have those figures, obviously today is the day before that, we'll send those out by email. We usually bring them to the meeting.
Any questions for Dwayne?
Dwayne, so I know that at the middle school, we have now got the new well, the holding tank and everything. I know that,
Yeah.
okay.
That's what I wanted to talk about
just wanted to make
later,
sure
so-
that we're waiting, we've gotten all of the fixtures that tested high for lead.
Yep.
Everywhere except for one section of BES.
Two sections.
Two sections.
The 1979 original section, which is the first floor and the second floor.
Oh, okay.
And then what we need to do is, there's a fixture or two, I think, when we get done with the project, which, you know, I'm not going to give you a day for that, but hopefully, you know, by the end of this school year, we're going to go around as a facilities department and see if there was anything that we missed, and we're just going to replace those, even if they didn't test high or not. Like there's a fixture in the kitchen that didn't test high. We're just going to replace that when we go and do that, and we're just going to have all new fixtures throughout the building.
Okay, so with that being said, though, with this well,
Yes.
when is the testing for that water done? Is it done like now that we have it, before it's even like hooked up, or?
So good question, and this was what I wanted to talk about later, but we can talk about it now. So as we've gotten into the project, so right now, the well is dug, right? So the well is, we dug it, got great gallons per minute, very excited about that. As we started to look at the actual hookup and some of the options that we were hoping to be able to do, I mean, one of our ideas was, as we were, you know, at some point, we have to cut the water off from the old well to the building. So the building has no water at that point. So what our idea was, that we were going to bring in a water truck, hook it up to the building, and kind of run as a temp. We can't get a significant size water truck close enough to the building to run that. So one of the things that we were running into is how we were going to keep the building operational for a 2 to 3 week time period while we were changing over from the new well to the old. You know, our goal was to do this during the summer, but the permitting process took way longer than we thought it was going to. And, you know, this is just one of those things that, you know, we haven't done a well before. I didn't know the permitting was going to be that long, so I think doing it last summer was an ambitious thing, and we probably weren't going to accomplish that. So on the recommendation of the well provider who's putting the domestic water tanks in, we're proposing and are going to agree with the company to do that crossover next summer, because it might take a month for us to do it, and we want to do it right. We don't want to hurry. We don't want to race and do it like, oh, we only have 2 weeks to do this, or you know, we might have to have late entry. We might have to close. So we don't want to do any of that. So the well's not going anywhere. That's effective. That's in. So what we want to do is get first on their agenda for June. The money is doesn't lapse because it was in a special warrant article, so that's no problem. So that was what I was going to bring up later is, you know, we'd like to send communication out to all BMS families, staff, community at large, and just say that final project is of all of our projects, that's the one that we're going to do the latest, and it'll be next summer.
And what happens with that, the idea with the old tank irrigating the middle school field?
Yeah, and actually, the company that is doing the changeover also has an irrigation division. So
Nice.
so if you know where the new well is, we have to come across the concrete and come into the building. The tanks are going to be in approximately the same location. So if we're already coming under the concrete, we want to bring the old well new lines that we want to propose in March to irrigate the track field. We want to
Right.
bring those at the same time underneath the concrete, so we only do it once. So, I mean, maybe the timing is beneficial for that. I think it will be, because we'll have the same company hopefully on site to do both of those projects at the same time. So
Nice. Wow, that's good.
But Dwayne, when does the testing of that well get done, though?
So we can do that any time, but we'll probably do it as we get closer to when we're going to bring it over to the domestic tank.
Okay.
So my guess is we're probably going to do that April, May.
Okay.
of next year. The amount of things that we have to test for in a new public drinking water system well is pretty significant. I mean, it's a laundry list of things that we have to test for, and once some of those things pass, when you test them, you only have to test them once. I mean, there's, like uranium and things like that you have to test for. But once we do that, I think that'll, we'll take care of that, and then we'll get on our regular testing schedule, treated after the treatment in the building.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question, totally separate, different, maybe more for you, Jessica, but seeing that we have 11 special ed assistants open, is there anything we can be doing? I know this is a shortage everywhere, and it's not just a Bow thing, but is there anything we can be doing to help hire people? That's a lot.
And it's been years. I mean,
It's been
as long
years.
as I can
It's been
remember.
between, I feel like it's been
Why
between
not?
8 and 11 forever, but I just.
Start, you can. So, maybe I don't want to start. I think a couple of, so what we'll do sometimes, and if they're available, is if we have open positions, we're going to actively continue to advertise for those positions. But we have, in the past and this year, used contracted service providers to provide those services. We're doing that right now in a couple of instances at 2 different buildings. So we'll do things like that. But, maybe a bigger crowd needs to hear this as well. But, we're in negotiations right now with a support staff agreement that, like a lot of communities, I think when you sign multi-year agreements, sometimes what you pay people and the benefits that are associated with those can lag behind what happens out in the world. And I think we need to maybe push a little bit in terms of starting pay for those types of positions, because people can earn a similar wage and work year-round. A special ed assistant for us is a 181-day contract. It's not a full year job where you're working in some other field or maybe in some other educational profession, but it's not a full year. Now we can supplement that with summer ESY, but it's still not full-time. And so sometimes I think the script is flipping a little bit, where some of the school year positions of this sort maybe need to be looked at as more full-time positions.
In my report, I mentioned that as well. Interestingly enough, we didn't collaborate on our reports.
You both mentioned it.
No, yeah, I think we just both see the same type of issue, and Dwayne offered you some solutions from the global standpoint. I think what I can offer is some comments about how we're looking at that staffing pattern as a real thing, and why we need paraprofessional support, and taking a look at how we make those decisions for kids. One of the things I think Bo does really well, which I also mentioned in my report, is inclusion opportunities. So we don't have any self-contained programs in our elementary school. All of our kids are included in all of the classrooms, and that requires support. So in order for those kids to receive what they need in those classrooms, and for the teachers to be able to teach all the kids in that classroom, they need that support. So while we are utilizing contracted services at our second and at the high school and dabbling into it at the middle school, we do kind of end up almost staffed at our elementary schools, which is a good thing for those kids and for that staff. Also important to note is that there are safety concerns that require that support too for kids at times, and so we're just trying to think about what it means to need that level of support and face that reality of that staffing pattern. How can we meet those needs in different ways? What skills do people need? What support do people need that may not be that personnel, because we're not quite sure that it's going to be there. It sort of feels like the well is drying up in that regard. So what do we need to do to meet kids' needs is the bigger question from my perspective, and the administrative team is working on that. It's in our strategic plan.
And I guess the last thing I would say on that is to simply throw your hands up and say, well, everybody's dealing with this and everybody has openings. I don't like to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think, we're tasked with trying to figure out, how we can do what's best for kids. But I think at the same time, I think a lack of support can be draining on, our certified staff. you know, and so I think those are the kind of things that, you know, you try to wrestle with and try to figure out, but you're also at the same time, we've got an obligation to follow what's negotiated and what's in place at the time, which all of those positions fall under that collective bargaining agreement. So it's not the easiest thing to do, but, you know, I don't think it's simply something that you just give up and say, well, oh, well, you know, everybody's dealing with it and, you know, we can't do anything. I mean, we just hired somebody today. It's like we have a cake in the SAU sometimes when we hire somebody, but it's great. The person's super excited. They got great background. They sign their contract immediately. We're excited for them to start. So this is an ongoing process as well.
And I also want to mention sort of it from a staff perspective, what skills do the paraeducators need to feel fulfilled? It's a very hard job, what we're asking these people to do, and wanting to make sure that they feel supported. Who can they go to? How do the case managers support? What is the administration doing to be supportive? All of that plays into, because when they're out, it changes the entire dynamic too. So when you rely on that support a lot, there can be other pieces that fall into place as well, so.
I also have a question. So you were saying that you are comparing what the statewide data is and for the expectations and also federal government. Can you get us those? I'm just kind of curious to look into that more.
Sure. So all the state level data is on the Bureau of Special Education Support's DOE website, or the New Hampshire Ed website. And what I was referencing in my report there is the state presenting to the LEAs all of the data that they collect at the state level that compares the state to the federal expectations. So that data that we reviewed on September 13th wasn't LEA-based data from local school districts. It was the statewide aggregate data, which was really interesting to see because we know what our data looks like and how that compares to the state too. And I spoke to the local data in the spring. That was the LEA determinations. So still happy to talk to you about any of those.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could send me the link. And then one other thing too is you said that there's a contracted provider that we have now. Who is that? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Sure. So when we need contacted providers, I tend to they call me daily to offer me any type of support, multiple times a day. There are a lot of recruiting agencies. I think that's another interesting point to talk about with regard to the paraprofessional support, is that those individuals can make a different wage by going to those agencies and then coming to the districts. So that's not just our problem, it's everybody's problem, but interestingly enough, those contracts have buyout options. So if we get a staff member from a contracted provider that we really like, we can buy them out at the end of the contract year and they can become our employee. So that's an interesting potential future, pathway for staffing that particular position. But anyways, so a variety of different providers. There's Emergis Healthcare, there's Solient. I can't name, I could go in my email right now and give you 5 or 10 people that call me every day asking if I need an OT or an SLP or a BCBA they're always offering staff to school districts. So I don't know if that answers your question specifically, but.
So how many paraprofessionals do we get from them right now?
We have 2 right now.
Right now.
Yep.
And so why don't we just cover all of the missing ones?
They're expensive.
So what is the cost? I'm just
Sure.
trying to
So I think,
understand, what's the cost difference?
It's about a position and a half or something.
Yeah, it depends on the open position as well. So, I mean, if we take the whole line for a particular para position, and salary and all the benefits associated with it, it's very close to what we're charged for a contracted service. Sometimes it's over, sometimes it's a little under. It depends on, the open position and what was budgeted the year before. I think the interesting thing is the contracted service providers have a lot of positions that they're offering that we already have, that we're filled in. They don't have a lot of aid positions either. Which is why we wouldn't, be able to fill all of them, because they're doing the same thing. They're out there looking for people to do that because, then they would place them. And there are a bunch of other school districts that are also looking, where this isn't just a bow, opening. So there aren't enough of our own employees, there aren't enough the contracted positions, so we couldn't fill them all.
Thanks.
Dwayne, kind of scope creeping on transportation, but it lists the 4 bus drivers needed. A couple bus driving questions. We've spent an enormous amount of time, so we're not going to go through all the
Oh,
problems
yeah.
of hiring. We don't need to do that all again.
I have applications here, up here at the
Yeah, so
front.
I guess my first question is, there was the person who lived off 3A that was looking for a change. Did one of us finally, I think there may have been miscommunication between which of us was going to get back to that parent. Did somebody get back to him finally?
Dwayne did.
Yeah.
Dwayne, you did?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
We tried to do.
But we,
okay.
I mean, we meant to do that like a month ago, like I think we kind of were mistaken.
Yeah, I think, you know, yeah, no, I think
Anyway,
we've,
that's
I
good.
think we're set on that.
Okay.
We have a couple people who are interested in driving in different capacities, so we've got a couple people who are thinking of doing that. So, yeah.
So-
That's a continuous thing, too.
Yeah, more positive than a month ago. I mean, I swear it was 4 then, but a more positive direction. That's good. And then the seniors riding with the elementary students, maybe this is a Lori question, I don't know. Any issues whatsoever? Yeah, good. Good, okay. Okay, excellent. All right, anything more for Jessica or Dwayne? Owen?
I don't have anything to add unless there are any questions.
Go ahead.
Oh, and I have a few, actually. So getting down to, you were talking about all these grants and how you take the grant and you kind of divide it up. But I was wondering, like, so I went to the Great Escape. It was wonderful. So the Great Escape, does it cost $35,000 or so? It costs more than $35,000. Okay. So, but we paid for $35,250 with the grant.
Right, that's the Title II portion of it, correct?
Okay. How much did the Great Escape cost?
I mean, I can give you a rough estimate. It was in between $50,000 and $60,000 once you pay for all the presenters and all of the other fees that go along with it.
All right. And then.
Right, and Dunbarton has their fair share of it as well.
So that's the gross. Okay. And how many staff did we have go to that?
If you let me look into my files, I can get back to you on that.
Okay, all right. Also, there was, so the professional book reads, I'm just trying to, like, understand the money part of this. So it's almost $7,000 for that. So it's kind of like a book group, kind of. But what, I guess I'm trying to understand, like, so they're all professional learning books, right?
Correct.
But some of them are like, more like social emotional and stuff like that. Like, how much do we pay each teacher to take part in?
It's right there. It's $50 for each teacher that participates, and then it's $100 for the teachers that facilitate.
Okay, then, so what do they have to do exactly? Just read the book, or do they actually have to come together and have discussions?
So each teacher that signs up will receive a book. If they do not come on site and participate in the discussion, they don't get paid.
Okay.
But if they come on site and participate, they'll get the $50. If they facilitate the discussion, meaning they put some planning behind it and they work through how they want to facilitate that discussion, they'll receive $100.
Okay, all right. And so all of these things kind of then, the person who's facilitating it kind of brings it back to education, even if it's like Brene Brown's book. It's brought back to education.
Yep, and her books certainly apply to education.
Oh, no, I think it applies to, yeah, a lot of different, no, I just wanted to kind of understand that. All right, thank you.
No problem, thank you.
Any other questions for Owen? Student representative report. Gentlemen, anything to add? It's the earliest report we've ever received from you.
The only thing that really happened was the Friday Night Lights game. I don't think anything else major has happened since then. Oh.
I think the play was just announced, right? I might be wrong. And it's, yeah? Okay, I'll hold. Never mind then. Never mind.
Oh, it looked like a big crowd at the pep rally at the school, right? Yeah.
Like 400 something students, which is like over 2/3. So really, really good numbers.
Nice.
And it was fun. So
Nice. How'd it compare to the Model U?
the Model UN one, I don't know. Nothing can compare to the Model UN one. So
What happens at the Model UN stays in the Model UN.
exactly.
Any other questions for Matthew or Trevor? No?
Yeah, and then Adam
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Lori, anything to add to your report? Yeah. Wow. Nice. Nice. Excellent. Any questions for Lori?
Hi, Lori. So can we get the results of the spelling assessment administered to the students' grades 1 through 4? What does that mean? Okay, so, okay, can we get any? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Also, the letters literacy training, it says 70% of the teachers have participated. Are those is it only the students of those teachers that were then tested, or is it all, like, all? Okay. All right, okay. Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Lori? No? Adam, anything to add? Oh. Ah.
I was really thinking about coming to this meeting tonight was what Dwayne talked about, the well, because that was a change, and was a change in the last, really like 3 days or so. I think that, we started talking about that Thursday night, and I think by Friday, the decision had been made. So that's what's front and center on my mind. I knew we wanted to talk about it here with you folks tonight before putting a note out to the BMS community. But that's my plan for tomorrow, to let folks know that that change will be coming, just gonna come a little further out. Other than that, we ordered the basketball hoops for the new playground area, so that order got placed today. Hopefully they'll get in before winter. I guess some municipality in New Jersey just went in and bought like 15 units from the company we ordered through. So it's a small company, and they've got a now build brand-new ones. They're out of supply because of this municipality. So Bob Polisi told me we're about 6 to 8 weeks on the order arriving out, but the good news is we think we can have them installed hopefully before the ground freezes. So I really would love that done before winter. I mean, the whole idea was a winter playground for the kids. So that's kind of one of the objectives. We've also ordered some stencils, so we'll be able to paint like the basketball half court, basically. So that'll be, I think kids will like that, to have a 3-point stripe and a key, and they'll enjoy that. As well as some Foursquare stencils and some hopscotch stencils, and just bring some life to that zone. So I really appreciate the board's support in getting that winter playground, and hopefully we'll have it all painted up before winter.
Yeah.
So those are the big things I kind of had on my mind coming in.
Any questions?
I want to try out this AR/VR piano playing. I'm gonna have to go talk to Mr. Davis about
I
that.
think he could get you in.
I know, I bet he could. I'm gonna talk to him about that. It looks super cool.
It does look cool.
Is that just with the classes, or is that with his piano club?
That was actually in class. That was in, I think when I walked into it that time, it was lunchtime, so it must have been a 6th grade in. So that was, no, that was a 6th grade band. Yeah, I think he's probably gonna, I know Matt, he's a pretty tech savvy guy. He'll probably work that in wherever it's appropriate.
How do you get this? Was this a grant?
Title II.
Awesome.
Magic.
How many sets do we have?
I'm unaware of that.
You have,
I can find that out.
you have 4 sets in all 4 schools.
Do we
Four
know what
sets
happens to the
all
data
four schools?
that gets collected? I mean, we're
I'm sorry, what?
Do we know what happens to the data that gets collected? I mean, it's biometric student data. Is that getting stored here?
I am not your guy, but I think he's here.
What was the question? Sorry. These devices that we put on our kits, do we know what happens to the data they collect, the biometric data?
Which biometric devices are you referring to?
The
Virtual reality.
MetaQuest, I think I call it
AR,
MetaQuest.
VR headsets? So the accounts that we use that are generic accounts that don't identify individuals, so there's no real student data or anything that, identifies an individual. So.
Okay. But we don't know whether they're stored here or sent off.
Well, I mean, like the actual data itself is, it's a Facebook account, so anything that would be stored would be on Facebook's servers.
Okay.
I have bad news for you, Adam. If you recall, we tried to get the garden club to take over aesthetically pleasing work out front of the middle school. They said they had like 8 different organizations vying for their services, and we did not win. They're going a different direction. Yeah. I think it was probably overwhelming to them. I think they looked at that project and thought, ugh, this is a lot of work. Not in a negative way. I mean, just, there's a big canvas, right? I think is my.
But what are we looking for? Maybe we could do something with the community.
Yeah.
Not a lot of beauty.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
Have at it. We don't need to talk. Any idea is better than me. I have 0. That was my idea. That's all I have. I struggle enough at home with just my yard. Matt, anything to add to your report?
We offer to students at Bow High School, and that's because we have staff who are willing to give a ton of time for students outside of the school day. Not only teachers, but also we have paraprofessionals who lead clubs. We have our head custodian leads the ping pong club. So I think it's a really cool part of the culture here at Bow High School. At the Friday night football game, one of our recent graduates came back and came up to me and Chris Robb and said that he had never seen that many students show up to a football game before. I thought our students had great sportsmanship on the sideline. It was a really fun environment, so kudos to our kids. And then lastly, starting today, our best teachers, our PE and health teachers, took students out on the ropes course. So that's a two-week activity that they take students out for. And that really is something I think is pretty unique to Bow High School, and it's a really cool opportunity for our students that they get that experience. So they started today, and they'll go for the next 2 weeks out there.
Nice. Any questions for Matt?
I just want to make a brief comment. To both of you guys, my son has said that the bring your own couch and the football games and the school spirit this year in general has been amazing, and I think a lot of that is owed to you too. And also specifically, Mike, I appreciate that you have been a person that student athletes can go talk to this fall, and very approachable and like positive to them, and I appreciate that. So I just wanted to throw it out there. But the couches are a big hit. The lights, adding the lights, it's a nice touch.
I have a question, actually, and this could be for any of our staff who generously gave their time to come here, or Marcy, or anybody. When teachers do clubs, are they given a stipend?
Yes, they are.
They are? Well, then that's, I just wanted to make sure. It was like, oh my gosh, okay. But still, thank you so much for every teacher that does a club, because it's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the cool things, specifically Thursdays in our school library, we have the Dungeons and Dragons Club, we have esports going on. Outside, we have all the soccer and field hockey, football practicing, Grand State Challenges doing their thing. So it's a really cool thing for students that they have so many different opportunities, and teachers and staff do a fantastic job with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, the worst part of these clubs, though, for you guys to know, is that my boys who just went to 5th grade, and they now have these clubs, they can't decide which one to do. Like, they are struggling because there's so many great options. So thank you to all of the staff.
Anything else for Matt? No? Mike, anything to add to your report?
The last 2 weeks here have been certainly, challenging in ways, but I think it's been very, the positive has been impressive as well with the homecoming week that we had, both on the field and off, was very successful. And then Friday Night Lights had more students than we've ever seen. It has already been reported. It's interesting what brings kids out, and when I think I was Owen Weber that I was talking to, and he asked if he could bring a couch to a game. And I'm like, sure, like, I don't know why, I guess. And now I didn't unlock the gate on Friday night, and those couches were just being dumped over the fence and rolling down the field. They've done a great job with it. They've taken it on as their own, and we've termed it the unofficial Falcon Lounge. They help set up the tents. They clean up the trash. They get take their couches back to your living rooms or wherever they came from. But it's been a great addition. I think it just keeps all the kids in one place. They stick together, and they're boisterous in that end zone. So that's been a great addition for us, I think. I'm glad we only have one more football game, because I don't know what else we're going to add to the lounge, but it's been great.
Nice. Anything for Mike? Mike, while you're here, just one thing, and again, this is nothing you can really do about it, but if you can help with it. We've talked before as a board, because of our busing shortage, I'm sure you probably know this, that we'd love to be able to coordinate different teams, scheduling different teams to play the same opponent so we can share buses. And we wholly understand it's not the exact same teams, because there are a few that are in different divisions and things like that. But generally speaking, and our understanding is also that it's done at the NHIA level, and every sport kind of has their own committee that sets up the scheduling. But if you have any influence on that organization and you're able to make it so it's not scheduled just by a sport, but there's more coordination, every single school in the state would benefit. So it's not just a Bow thing, which I'm sure you know, but it's been an issue kind of near and dear to us that we don't feel like we can do anything about. So if you have an opportunity ever.
Sure, yeah,
that'd be great.
and, I mean, we have those conversations, and I'm on committees that can influence scheduling for sure. It's been, you know, and Mr. Ford talked about busing, I think we're 2 weeks solid without parent transport, and even getting into the middle schools as well now. So I don't know how many we've added, but it's been very helpful in that sense. We went from the fear of every away game was going to be driven to by parents, and now we're 2 weeks solid without any parent transport. So that's been good. Trying to tie things together, it just happened and feel like, well, it's going to happen twice now. So Wednesday's game, we changed middle school and high school schedules a little bit, altered time so that we're playing Milford. Who just played? So Milford is they couldn't get 2 buses in a row or 2 days in a row. So we just stacked 3 field hockey games so that they could bring all 3 teams on one bus. So there are, you know, we're working in that direction to try to make it easier, for sure.
And I do like, I don't know if they did it this year, but Merrimack Valley in the past on their homecoming, it seems like they schedule every town, like one town, almost like creating a rivalry. It felt like, I don't know, a couple years ago at least. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. We have to kind of identify who we have for that rivalry that we could play in all sports.
Right.
So in the past couple of years, we've just been kind of taking who we're playing in that, you know, in the vicinity of the date and just scheduling them on that Friday or Saturday. But we can look to try to push for common opponents for sure as well.
You know, when you find the time. Chris, I don't have a report from you. I swear I saw a report, but maybe you're just not on the, oh, I missed you. That's why. I went right to Mike. I'm sorry, Chris. Anything to add to your report?
So we're going to be taking that namespace and providing a single source of authentication for the whole SAU. That'll impact every system that we have, every application that we use, but it'll be better for the SAU as a whole. We'll be able to natively share between the 2 districts. And with the .gov namespace, we'll be afforded some extra protection from a cybersecurity perspective. So that's a big project for us.
Is that common? I mean, do other SAUs do that, or?
Yeah,
any
so
idea?
there's one other district or one other SAU that's actually accomplished this so far. So we'll be one of the few. So, and it's a good thing. We eventually have to get there. Every district's got to get there.
Nice.
So, yep.
Any questions for Chris? No? Excellent. We have a report from Beth Corkum. She's not here. Anyone have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Beth. Didn't see you up there. Oh, excellent. Awesome. Did you win? Oh, all right. All right. Anything to add to your report? Nice. Awesome. Any questions for Beth? No? All right. Moving on.
Oh, I do. I'm sorry, Beth. Do you want to come down so you can have the mic?
Do you want to do it?
No pressure. No pressure, Beth. Get down here. So,
You have it. All right.
So one thing that I thought was interesting was it says, one of the district MTSS goals this year is to reduce the number of nurse office visits. And then the data and everything. I was just wondering, so I started looking at it. Did we get the data of why the majority of students are going to, like, did the nurses keep data at the beginning, like saying, like, these students are coming because there's anxiety or there's this? Do we have something to, like, compare so that we're making sure that those students are then put to someplace else and not just sitting there dealing with it alone?
Yes. So the health offices use a portal called SNAP, where they log every entry into the health office. They have some candid options that they have to use, so they don't have a ton of flexibility in changing that. But yes, we absolutely have looked at the breakdown of those reasons, if it's, regular routine medicine, like needed, or what we specifically have been looking at is the other reason, right? So the other reason are the ones that isn't clear, clear cut, and trying to triage and give educators, health office, everybody language to be able to support those students, and making sure that they are taken care of in the most appropriate way and place.
One of the things that we've noticed, kids go to the nurse saying they have a stomach ache or some type of medical need, and it's kind of masking some of those other social emotional needs at times. So it is hard to tease that out because the nurse is categorizing it as a medical need. But then we want to look at how long those visits were, the feedback from the nurse about why the kid was there, the pattern of behavior. So we dig into the data a little bit differently than just collecting what the reason was to try to look at the surrounding aspects to it. So that's part of that tiered process that she was probably referring to.
Well, I just wanted to suggest that maybe we get parents involved in this, because the reason is that I have, with my own children, seen either my kid or one of their friends going to the nurse and saying they had a headache or a stomach ache, and then they didn't tell anybody at school, but they came home and talked to their parent or talked to us. Or so I think that could be a great way for you to kind of flush that stuff out. But another question.
Melanie, is that a question about like the nurse following up with the family, or do you just mean like parent education around?
I don't know. I think I just wanted to put that out there because I know Beth, all of us, right? We want like some data. We want to see if we're trying this intervention. How do we see if this intervention is working? Well, we have to have the starting point, right? Where are we? What's going on? Bring in that intervention and then see if there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully in a positive trend, right?
Sure.
So I was thinking along those lines, like you're starting to build this Wellness Wednesday thing and having more interaction with the community in that way, to maybe consider that aspect of it, because you guys might not know, but the parents might.
Yeah, the health offices have definitely sent communications home. I know my elementary school student can rattle off those 7 Bs as to why you go to the nurse rather quickly. So they did learn that pretty quickly. And in the Wellness Wednesdays, there is a nurse focus article, data point, highlight every week or every other week I'm doing it.
But is there like an exchange of information type of thing to help you?
And shit. Yeah,
Oh, there is.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Lori, that new cool-looking nurses station at BS, is it, I wonder if you're going to get more frequent flyers or less or no difference? Yeah. Nice. All right, moving along, manifests and vouchers. Ms. Reardon, you said you wanted to make a motion?
To approve the manifest for the period ending August 31st, 2024, in the amount of $4,344,147.34.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Angela seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Moving along to personnel actions. Looks like we have one. We have a retirement notice from Janice Escalin. Do we have a motion to accept?
I will make that motion. We are very, what? No,
Don't do
what?
that. That's just for information only because we accept the planned retirement requests at the November meeting after the November 1st deadline. So there might be more than one. So that's for your info. Don't accept
No
it yet, although it's just for information. We'll accept it in November.
Okay, no motion then for now. All right. Unfortunate, but I'm jealous of Ms. Escalin, for sure. Tiring. That's it for personnel actions. Policies, second read. Do we have a motion to second read and adopt policy JLCG, JLCB, EBCG? Jenna makes the motion. Martin seconds. Any further discussion? We talked about these more at the first read. Marcy, do you remember, are these new or are these revised? I can't remember.
These are revised. Well, so there was two policies. I'm sorry? They're combined,
Yeah.
correct.
Well, we've talked about them before, so any comments? Otherwise, all in favor of adopting the motion? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Overnight trip request. I don't see Pam here. I'm thinking maybe you, Matt, want to talk about that at all?
Yep, possibly to have an opportunity to see against a number of other schools in Massachusetts. So it would be leaving Thursday after school, and they would be gone Friday.
Any questions for Matt?
I got one question. In the letter we got, it says Make Bayer. I think it's Mike Bayer who will chaperone the trip. Okay. I like to hire from WPI. I love that school, so.
It's a good school. Definitely. And they've been at like the Nationals or Worlds or something too, right? Yeah, nice. Did somebody move on this? I can't remember. Did I move?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
All right. Motion to approve the great idea. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Back to public comment. Any public comment from anyone still in the vicinity?
Our unofficial sixth member?
No? Okay. We're public commented out. Now we're moving on to board committee and delegate reports. Typically, the administration can leave to the extent they are able and willing and want to leave at this time. Feel free.
Thanks.
All right, thanks for your time. Sure. No problem. There's just one spot.
Two spots.
Yeah, no problem. Great, thank you. Excellent. All right, moving on to board committees. Policy committee, Melanie and I have done periodic policy reviews here and there. I don't think anything in particular to comment on at this time. Maybe Marcy, anything you see coming down the pike?
I know just the policies that were discussed at our last meeting.
Okay.
I just got one thing that I just want to point out. It says Larrabee and Osterloh again in the agenda. So
Got it.
I'll change it over to
Yep.
these two.
Negotiations will be going into a non-public setting to discuss negotiations, so no need to discuss that at this time. Budget, I guess my question about budget is really not for you, but have we set dates for when we're meeting in budget?
Oh, that would be great, actually.
No, not yet.
November 14th, right?
That's a meeting.
That sounds too early. Melanie.
Yeah, in December.
Thanksgiving.
We usually do it after Thanksgiving, but I should probably set that soon.
Yep.
You want to do it now, Jenna?
It's a board meeting.
Usually we do it in October, September, no, October, November.
Right, so
This is the October meeting.
So we can do it the November meeting too, but that, I don't,
Too tight for you? I don't care. I can do it. You guys, is everyone able to do it now?
Yes.
Okay. Usually I feel like we do it, like our first one is very quickly after Thanksgiving, like the Tuesday or something after Thanksgiving. Jenna, you're always good at, best on Mondays, I remember.
I think it's been Mondays.
Could we do the Monday after Thanksgiving to start?
I think
Okay.
last year we did the Monday after that even.
The Monday after that? Can we do that?
But
Does
they
anyone
changed the
not
rate this
able
year,
to do
so-
Monday? Mondays, Angela, are Mondays okay for you?
Take time off too.
It usually ends up. Okay, so the following Monday?
Which would be the 11th. Is that too late? Oh, no,
That's the
12/9.
9th. It's the 9th.
Does that work, Dwayne and Marcy?
Yes.
Would it be? All day? Yeah, because I do have something.
Usually the first one is pretty, like, is usually, we definitely do lunch, and it's probably 2 o'clock-ish, is my right? It's like a full school day.
I have a hard stop at 3.
Okay, I think that'll work, though.
8 to 3?
Yeah. Bear with me 1 second, I still gotta get to it. Okay, that's fine. All right, that's the first one. Usually we end up doing 3. Can we do the following, Monday's really best, right? Can we try and do the following Monday?
It's the 16th.
Yeah, I can do that.
And then,
Full day or a half day?
it usually ends up being a half-day, I find, on the 16th. Do we want to do morning, I assume? 8 to 12? Okay. And then we usually do like,
But that next week is Christmas.
can we do the 20th? So Friday, the 20th, for a final, we generally don't even have to meet, but, so what day works for you after the 16th? In the year, in December? 18th, Wednesday, the 18th?
Can we do the 19th? That, Thursdays are just easier for me too, but I can do the 18th.
I can do the 19th.
I can do the 19th. Yeah.
Okay.
And that one is
Morning.
8 till we wrap it up.
8 till we're done. But
In
it's
my
okay,
experience,
okay.
always fairly quickly.
Well, we'll wait. See, let's not do that.
Yeah,
Depends on what Dwayne shows.
Yeah, right.
true. Okay, I think that should be sufficient, doesn't everybody think? 3 days like that?
Yeah, we don't think I didn't.
Excellent. All right, good. Town CIP, I guess that's, oh, I didn't realize you were the alternate for that. We're chugging along. We've been meeting literally every week for like a couple months.
Can you slow down now soon?
We got to be about done, I would really
I thought we
think.
usually wrapped up by October.
Yeah. I don't really have anything to add that, we haven't approved the school, the CIP committee hasn't adopted, I guess, what we've done, but I think it's just semantics because they wanted a summary, a running summary of kind of how much we had in the bank as we built along, which Dwayne has provided 2 months ago. And that's it. No, I really don't have much to add to that. District CIP buildings and fields. I have nothing new to add except great work at the baseball field. Really nice job. I was out there seeing for anyone who doesn't know, they put in a great seating area at the baseball field. I would say arguably the nicest seating field in the state. Like it's perfect. And, but foul balls virtually kill people there. Like it's unbelievable how many foul balls come down from the softball field. Like there was one game where, right, Jenna? I mean, it had to be 17 foul balls that all landed within a foot of people. And your relatives in particular are really close to those. So anyway, we absolutely had to put something in to protect that. And it's, what you put in is great. It's basically 4 tall steel beams with, or aluminum beams or something, but, and then netting on top. It's great. So it'll make a huge difference. Other than that, I don't want to add to that.
Yeah, but-
Wellness, Jenna?
We haven't met, did Beth leave yet, but I probably will meet soon.
Yeah, I'm sure the meeting is scheduled.
I was there, maybe you guys are meeting and I got dropped off the.
No.
I haven't attended a meeting this year yet, but, so
Keep-
no, nothing to report.
Keep up the good work there, Jenna.
Well, when they start.
Future Ready Schools, Martin, Melanie?
No?
All right. Transportation, I feel like we've already pretty much touched on that. NHSBA, Angela? Nice. We're anxiously awaiting your report on your day spent out by Target and Concord. Athletic improvements and funding, I have nothing new to add. Mike and I haven't met or anything. Booster Club, Angela? Excellent. Public comment? Nobody. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Including staff if they want to
That's right.
say anything.
That's right. Anyone? All right, very well. Any bottom lines for Marcy? Anything at all you want to ask, or anyone?
I just want to give kudos to transportation for buses. It's a noticeable improvement this fourth week of buses.
Nice. Excellent. I'll take part credit for that. I am the chairman of the Transportation Committee.
Nope, I would take that credit away from my
You should take it.
And Dwayne too, who emails, I don't know how you guys got a bus, but you got a bus. It's great.
That was.
I'll take it.
That was happening, but it did, so.
Very nice, it was very nice. Much easier on the parents.
All right, with all that stated, Martin, do you want to make a motion to go into a non-public meeting pursuant to RSA 91-A:311, open parent C, closed parent?
I'll make exactly that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Hearing no further discussion, Melanie, yay or nay? Martin?
Yay.
Bryce, yay. Jenna?
Yay.
Angela, yay. All in favor? Motion passes. We'll be going to the conference room up by Matt's office, outside the door for the non-public. Bio break along the way.